Out of every compliment a man could possibly give a woman, there's one she'll carry with her for years, long after she's forgotten his name, long after the conversation itself has faded into a blur. It's not the one you'd expect. It's not about her beauty, her intelligence, or even her strength. It's something quieter than all of that, something most men never think to say because they've never been told it matters. Stick with me for the next few minutes, and I'll show you exactly what it is, why it works the way nothing else does, and why almost no man ever gets around to actually saying it. Let's start by ruling out the obvious contenders, because understanding why they fall short is the key to understanding what actually works. "You're beautiful" doesn't survive in memory because she's heard it constantly, from strangers, from acquaintances, from men who wanted something and men who wanted nothing at all. It's been said so many times it's practically wallpaper. "You're so smart" fares a little better, but it still centers on a trait, something she has, rather than something deeper. Even "I love the way you think," which we've talked about before as one of the stronger compliments a man can give, is still fundamentally about a quality she possesses. The compliment that actually lasts for years operates on a completely different level. It's not about a trait at all. It's about the effect she has on someone else's inner state, delivered in a way that proves you've actually been paying attention over time, not just in this one moment. Something like, "I'm a calmer person when I'm around you," or "You make me want to be better and I don't fully understand how you do it," or simply, "Being around you feels like coming up for air." Here's why these land so differently than almost anything else a man could say. Every compliment about her appearance or her intelligence is, in some sense, a compliment about her as an object of observation. He's looking at her, and he's reporting back what he sees. But a compliment about her effect on you is entirely different. It's not about what she looks like or what she has. It's about what she does to the world simply by being present in it, and specifically, what she does to you. That shift from being observed to being felt is the entire difference, and it's the reason this kind of compliment burrows so much deeper than anything focused purely on her attributes. Think about it from her side for a moment. A woman who's spent decades being evaluated, complimented, and critiqued based on how she looks or what she's accomplished has learned, whether she says it out loud or not, to hold those compliments at a certain distance. They're about a version of her that exists on the surface, easily seen and easily commented on by anyone passing by. But a compliment about her effect on someone requires something no stranger could ever offer. It requires time. It requires actually experiencing a change because of her presence, and then being honest enough to name that change out loud. That's not something that can be faked convincingly, and on some level, she knows it. This is exactly why this particular compliment lands so much harder from a man who's actually lived a full life, who has enough self-awareness to notice when someone has genuinely shifted something in him. A young man, still discovering who he even is, often can't articulate this kind of internal change with any real precision, because he hasn't lived long enough to have a clear baseline of himself to compare against. You have. You know what calm feels like when it's earned instead of performed. You know the difference between someone who occupies space in your life and someone who genuinely changes the shape of it. When you tell a woman she's done something to your internal state, she's hearing it from someone whose report on the matter actually means something. Let's break down exactly why this compliment works so well, piece by piece, because understanding the mechanics makes it much easier to deliver sincerely rather than performatively. The first reason is that it centers her impact, not her appearance. Every human being, on some level, wants proof that they matter beyond how they look or what they can do for someone. Telling a woman she's changed something inside you, made you calmer, made you want to be better, made you feel more like yourself, tells her that her value isn't contingent on being observed and evaluated. It's contingent on the simple fact of her existence in your life. That's an entirely different category of validation than anything related to appearance or achievement, and it hits somewhere those other compliments simply can't reach. The second reason is that it requires vulnerability from you. And vulnerability is rare enough between men and women that it registers immediately as significant. Admitting that someone has changed you, made you calmer, made you better, softer, more patient, requires you to acknowledge that you were affected by her, that you're not entirely self-contained and unmoved by outside influence. Most men, especially men who have spent decades building competence and self-sufficiency in every other area of their lives, are not naturally inclined to admit this kind of thing out loud. When you do, she feels the weight of that admission precisely because it's rare, and because she knows it cost you something to say it plainly. The third reason is timing and permanence. A compliment about her looks is tied to a single moment. She was wearing that dress, her hair looked a certain way, the lighting was flattering. It's true in that instant and fades along with the instant itself. But a compliment about her effect on your internal state isn't tied to any one moment. It's cumulative. It's built from dozens of small interactions she may not have even consciously registered. And when you finally name it, you're not describing a snapshot, you're describing a pattern she's created without even trying. That kind of compliment doesn't expire the way a moment-specific one does, because it's not describing a moment. It's describing a change. Now, here's something important to understand about delivery, because this compliment can go badly wrong if it's not handled with the right kind of restraint. This isn't a compliment you deliver early, and it isn't one you deliver dramatically, like a grand declaration meant to sweep her off her feet. It works precisely because it sounds almost accidental, almost like an observation you're making to yourself out loud, rather than a line crafted for effect. Something said quietly, in an ordinary moment, not during some elaborate romantic setup, carries far more weight than the same words delivered with theatrical intensity. The power here comes from understatement, not performance. There's also a boundary worth respecting here, and it's the same one we've touched on before with other compliments. There's a meaningful difference between telling a woman she's made you calmer or better, which is a genuine gift, and implying that your entire well-being now depends on her presence, which quietly shifts from admiration into press. A mature man can acknowledge someone's positive effect on him while still being clearly, obviously whole on his own. That balance, gratitude without dependency, is what keeps this compliment feeling like a gift instead of an obligation she now has to maintain. Let's talk about why this specific compliment tends to be the one women remember for years, sometimes decades, long after other compliments have faded entirely. Memory research consistently shows that people remember emotionally significant moments far more vividly than factual or descriptive ones. Being told you're beautiful is a factual statement about appearance. Being told you've made someone calmer, better, more themselves, is an emotional revelation about impact. The brain simply encodes these two types of statements differently, and the emotional one sticks around far longer, resurfacing at unexpected moments for years afterward, sometimes triggered by nothing more than a stray thought or a similar situation. There's also something quietly profound happening underneath this compliment that's worth naming directly. When you tell a woman she's changed you for the better, you're implicitly telling her that she matters beyond this single conversation, beyond this single relationship even, if things don't work out romantically. You're telling her that whatever happens next, she's already left a mark that exists independently of the outcome. That kind of statement carries a strange, quiet permanence that most compliments simply don't have access to. And women, especially women who have lived enough life to understand how rare genuine impact actually is, recognize that permanence the moment they hear it. So here's what I want you to actually do with this. Stop reaching for compliments about what she looks like or what she's accomplished, at least as your default. Start paying attention to what actually shifts in you when you're around a particular woman. Are you more patient, calmer, more willing to laugh at yourself, more present than you usually are? Notice it honestly first, because none of this works if it isn't true. And then, at some ordinary, unremarkable moment, say it simply, without ceremony, without building it into some grand declaration. Let it land the way understated truths always land, quietly and completely. A man who tells a woman she's beautiful joins a very long line of men who have said the same thing before him, and will say it again after him, to someone else entirely. A man who tells her she's made him a better version of himself gives her something no one else can claim to have given, because no one else has had the exact effect on him that she has. That's the compliment that survives the years. That's the one she'll still be thinking about long after everything else has faded. If this gave you something worth carrying into your next conversation, stay close, because next time we're covering why she keeps circling back to you throughout an entire evening, and what that pattern actually reveals once you earn to see the whole shape of it.